What if I told you there's an amount of money, a specific range where more stops meaningfully improving how you actually experience your retirement? Not because, look, the math, it doesn't stop working, but because beyond a certain point, the things that drive day-to-day happiness in retirement, they stop being financial problems. And the research on this is surprisingly very specific. Today, we're going to look at what that number is, why it flattens out, and what it means for how you should be thinking about the final stretch of your retirement planning. My name is Rip. Welcome back to Rip Talks Money. Let's get into it. As always, do me a quick favor, hit that like button. The more likes we get, the more it's going to help my brand new channel grow. So let's talk about this now. Retirement researcher, you probably heard of him, Michael Fink. He analyzed data from the University of Michigan's Health and Retirement Study. This is one of the most comprehensive data sets on retiree well-being that we have out there. It's tracking roughly 20,000 Americans over the age of 50. And what he found was that your retirement satisfaction, it rises as your wealth increases. But the curve, it starts to flatten meaningfully around 4 to 4.5 million in investable assets. Now, let me be precise about what that means, because these findings, they get misquoted a lot and people, they don't explain them correctly. He's not saying that you need 4 million to be happy. He's not saying happiness stops at 4 million, that the curve doesn't drop. It just gets dramatically flatter. So going from, say, 250,000 in investable assets to 1.5 million, it produces a significant, measurable improvement in your retirement satisfaction. And going from 4 million to 8 million, well, the improvement you really can't notice. Interesting, isn't it? Now, this aligns with broader happiness research. We got a couple economists out there showing that your daily emotional well-being rose with household income up to a certain threshold. Then the relationship weakened significantly. And more recent work from researcher Matthew Killingsworth, look him up, it suggests that relationships does continue at higher income level, but the slope, it gets much smaller. Now, the constant findings across multiple data sets is that money helps a lot, right up to the point where it doesn't. And to understand why the curve flattens, you need to understand what money is actually solving at each level. You can see 4 layers on your screen right now. Layer 1, safety and survival. The first dollars you save, they solve the most fundamental problems, which could be food, housing, healthcare, and even physical security. When these are generally uncertain, your financial stress, it is overwhelming. And adding money here, it has the biggest impact on your well-being. Layer 2, autonomy. The next layer is freedom, folks. Enough money to leave a job that you hate, to restructure your schedule around your own priorities, to say no. This is deeply meaningful. And for most households, guess what? It happens well before $4 million. Layer 3, we get into comfort and options. We're talking a nicer home, the ability to travel. No panic when an unexpected expense hits. This is where a lot of people aim when they talk about a comfortable retirement, and it is generally impactful. And then layer 4, status and luxury, right? We're talking a second home, first class travel with that lay down sleeper bed seat that you get when you're going on these long trips. We're talking about luxury purchases. Now, the research is consistent here. The emotional return on spending at this level, it collapses quickly. These things are enjoyable, but the enjoyment, it only tends to be temporary. You get used to it. It doesn't move the needle on long-term satisfaction. And here's the critical point. Because once you reach layer 3 or 4, most of your problems, they're no longer financial. They're human. Health, relationships, purpose, belonging, and money has a hard time directly purchasing any of those. Which brings us over to this. Here's the retirement planning angle that really gets named directly in coverage of this research. So Finke's work, it's not just about your portfolio size. It's about how your money is structured specifically. How strong your reliable income streams are. Now, he uses a phrase that I find generally useful here. A license to spend. Now, his findings show that retirees who have stronger guaranteed income floors, Social Security, a pension, and annuity, they feel more comfortable actually spending in retirement than your retirees with equivalent or even larger wealth sitting entirely in a portfolio. Here's a real life example of how that plays out. So let's say you got retiree A over here. He has $3 million invested. He has no pension, and he needs to self-manage all of his withdrawals. Using a 4% framework, that's going to generate him $120,000 per year from the portfolio. Plus, let's say $65K in combined Social Security. So he's looking at about $185,000 total every year. Now, on paper, that's an excellent retirement. But inside that retiree's head, every month, should I really be spending this? What if the market drops 30%? What if I live to 95? The wealth is there, but the permission to spend, it doesn't always follow. Now let's look at retiree B. He got about 1.2 million invested, so less than half, but he also receives $8,000 per month from a combination of his Social Security and a pension. Now that's $96,000 a year before touching his portfolio. Their portfolio is a backup, right? It's not a lifeline. That retiree tends to report feeling wealthier and more secure in their retirement, even with a smaller portfolio, because their uncertainty is lower and their baseline is protected. The retirement savings impact here, folks, don't just build a big number. Build reliable income streams. Delay Social Security if you can. Consider whether a partial annuity makes sense. The income floor matters as much as the bounce. Which brings us over to the non-financial drivers that actually matter. Look, once you cross the financial security threshold, whether that lands, or wherever I should say that lands for your specific situation, the research is very clear about what moves the needle on retirement happiness next. Now, Finke's work here, it identifies 3 primary drivers. 1, financial security. 2, health. And the 3rd, relationships, particularly the quality of your marriage or your primary partnership and the depth of your social connections. Money is on that list, but it is not the whole list. A retiree with $2 million in investable assets, a strong marriage, and a clear sense of purpose in their daily life, that can have a meaningfully higher satisfaction than a lonely, isolated retiree with $12 million. And you know what? The data supports all of this directly. Now, health, it is largely determined by choices made decades before your retirement, not by a portfolio size. Relationships require ongoing investments, not just good intentions, and purpose, a reason to get up and engage with the day. It doesn't arrive automatically when you stop working. It has to be built intentionally. These are often called soft variables in financial planning. But the research treats them as primary drivers. They don't just show up on a brokerage statement, which gets us into what this actually means for your plan. Here's the practical question this research forces. If you're at $2 million working towards $3 million, that additional million, it likely produces a real improvement in retirement security and flexibility. The math is different at that level, and the peace of mind that comes with it, folks, it is real. But if you're already at 3 to 4 million and you're contemplating working 3 more years to reach that 5 or 6 million, it's worth asking honestly, what is that additional money actually buying? Is it moving you from financial fear to financial security? That's worth a lot. Or is it moving you from comfortable to slightly more comfortable? The research suggests that that improvement is smaller than most people expect. And the cost of those additional years, it's real. Time with your family you can't get back. Health and mobility you may not have later. The go-go years of early retirement that you defer while still fully capable of enjoying them. Because what's the good of retirement if you can't enjoy it? You gotta be prepared for all this, right? And here's the bottom line. The research says that money matters. It matters enormously in retirement, right up to the point where the things standing between you and a good life, they stop being financial. And for most households, that point is achievable here well before $4 million. Figure out your version of that number, not what a benchmark says, because your number is based on your spendings, your income streams, and your housing situations. And once you cross it, the next investment worth making, it might be in your health, your relationships, and your sense of purpose, not your portfolio. If this was useful, hey, give it a like. It helps more people find this channel. New video coming out Thursday this week. Stay tuned. You're going to like it. I'll see all y'all on the next one.